Hi friends, it's Reverend Laurie with Unity of Ocala, coming to you from my daughter's dive shop, in downtown Old Homosassa, Florida, home of the manatees, the old sugar mill, and a beautiful state park that rehabilitates harmed animals from the wildlife. They have manatee, they have a beautiful hippopotamus that is 50 years old that they feed every day, and it's a delight. They have a family of otters, wolves, bears, flamingos, all kinds of God's critters that have been injured and need a little loving care from the vets there. It's a wonderful place to take your family. It's just down the road from here, and folks stop in all the time to see where it is because it's easy to get lost around here with these canals and riverways, but it's a beautiful space. I'm an avid watcher of PBS, public broadcasting, on TV, and I listen to it on the radio every day, coming and going. I'm in my car a lot. It's my favorite channel. Not only do you get unvarnished news that is not supported by political campaigns or advertiser dollars, but by the viewer's support, but along with that untainted news is also some wonderful stories about people and the bright side of the human spirit and what's going on all over the globe. And I just find it fascinating. Yesterday, coming to work, there was a story, and I had heard this story a few years ago, but I had forgotten about it. It was about a young man. His name is Derek Amato. You may have heard of him. He was injured when he was 40, not quite 40, he was 39 years old. He was playing ball. They were playing with the ball in and out of the pool and catching it and falling into the pool. Anyways, he dove into the pool and miscalculated the dive and smashed the left part of the brain, the skull. Did not smash it in a way that it dinged him for a while. Did not smash it in a way that it broke the skin or crushed the skull, but it did some damage. They weren't sure how much, but his friend that he was with, who had been his childhood buddy, they were pals for life. They went to church camp together and were just the best of friends. They knew each other intimately. They were just buddies, still are. Anyways, he took him into his house. He was at his friend's house, and he said, I think you just need to sit down and chill and let's figure out what's going on, because he could tell his friend was pretty out of sorts, but he didn't seem to be messed up enough to go to the hospital. So while he was sitting there, Derek, he noticed, this is so incredible, this story. If I hadn't learned of this in many different ways, it would be really hard to believe. But in his friend's house, there was a keyboard there. I don't believe it was, I'm not sure what kind, but he had played a little bit of guitar before this accident, but never a keyboard of any kind. He was an athlete. He fancied himself in all of the sports. He excelled at basketball and football and baseball. And the interviewer from PBS was saying, so you were a jock? And he says, oh, very much so, and very proud of it. I was very athletic, and I loved that life and was hoping to play professional ball. Well, this keyboard just kept calling to him. And he went over, and his friend came over to just kind of keep an eye on him. And he started playing this keyboard. And he realized that something was pouring through him that was beyond him. He didn't quite understand it. And what was coming through him was extraordinary. The way he described it to this reporter was, I can only tell you I was channeling some kind of a composer. That's what it felt like. But I was understanding this music on a level that went beyond knowing chords and words. He didn't know any of the chords. He didn't know any of the notes. He didn't know a C from a D from a flat. He had no idea. He was seeing something in his brain and putting it out there. He didn't stop. He played for a solid 7 hours. He was so afraid this would stop if he stopped playing. His friend and him were in tears, knowing that something was happening that they couldn't understand. He finally, out of sheer exhaustion, stopped. His friend says, "You've got to go home and get some rest." And he did. He went home, and on his way home, he's thinking, what am I going to say to my mother? How am I going to tell this woman who knows me better than any person on the planet that something has happened to me through some sort of an injury, and I'm afraid I might lose it? Or did it even happen? He was in such a tizzy. It was quite late at that point, and he just went to bed. And he got up the next morning and he told his mother, "I want you to take me to the music store." And she said, "What do you need to get?" And he said, "I just want to be there for a little while and see something." So she said, okay. So she went with him. They went to the music store, and the salesman came up, I'm sure wanting him to purchase something. And he said, he pointed to a keyboard and he said, "Can you show me how to turn this thing on?" It was an electric keyboard. And so the guy at the store set everything up and showed him. And he told his mother, "Come and sit here with me." So she did, and he started playing again. The gift had not left him. He was playing this extraordinary music, and the guy from the store was just looking at him. And his mother started crying. And he hadn't seen his mother cry very often. And she said, "What is going on with you? How long have you been doing this?" And so he explained to her what had happened at his friend's house in the pool, and the concussion or whatever he had suffered. So then they started the journey to seeing the neurologists and the brain surgeons to first check out and see if there was severe damage done. And what many of the neurologists and the brain scientists that worked with him began to realize, because some of them had seen it before, but not quite in this way. Usually, a brain injury to the left side of the brain impairs that part of us that is on the material level. We know that in spiritual circles, that is the level of the ego, that of a rational mind that thinks things out and knows of consequences. And when that is damaged, the other side of the brain begins to take over to function those neurons and balance the energies out. So what we would know spiritually to be that side of God that goes beyond our current understanding, beyond our current abilities, into the creative force of nature and the flow of creation, that starts to overcome. The neurologists were concerned, however, because usually in cases that they call this savant ability, that brain is damaged in a way that the human is not really functioning in them, just this creative aspect. So they don't have the skills to function at a regular job or to function without some help, because something in that left side of the brain that helps them with cognitive skills and getting by, buying groceries, working, keeping a bank account, sorting things out, is missing. But in this case, that was still functioning. But yet, this extraordinary ability started to pour through him, something he was never trained in, did not study, yet had access to. Now, the reason I am so drawn to this story and why it just excites me so much at this time in my life is not because it's just beautiful and it just shows that, wow, we just don't know anything about anything, but it shows the miraculous ability in us to go beyond what we ever dreamed we could possibly do. And isn't that what God sees in all of us? This extraordinary ability to go beyond the boundaries that we have created for ourselves. That's why I'm always encouraging people to get out of the left brain and get into the right brain, get into your right mind, because there holds the forces that go beyond our limitations that only we have placed on ourselves. How do we get there? Well, I teach classes that help students shut down that ego and open to the creative, because when we are doing something creative like painting or creating music or studying nature. When we are going beyond our humanness, we open to a greater access of that. So anytime you are engaging in right brain activity, singing, music, mathematics, believe it or not, these neurologists explained to him that that mathematical mind of his that is now more fully exposed and less limited is why he is reading music in a way that is not through the notes written on a page. For example, he told the reporter at the broadcasting studio that he was being interviewed in that the patterns on the wall he was reading as music while they were having their interview. And the reporter said, "Tell me what you're talking about." Well, there were square patterns on the wall, some recessed, some set out, embellished a bit, embossed a bit. And some were very dark completely and some just partially. He could see the dark ones as the deeper whole notes and the lesser ones, the lighter half notes and full notes. And the pipes and the knots and the bulky part of those ceilings, he could see as much lighter and more frivolous. So he started playing with the keyboard they had set up for him in the studio, this song that was extraordinary. I encourage you to just Google Derek Amato PBS interview and hear the whole thing yourself. He started playing what he was reading mathematically in these forms. And it was the most beautiful song you'd ever heard. And the reporter said, "You've never played this particular piece before?" And he said, "No, I haven't quite seen that pattern." And the reporter said, "You have to excuse me if I'm a skeptic." And he said, "Please be skeptical. We have to question these things." And the reporter said, "Well, so what if all this stops?" And he said, "Well, then I'll have to get a job." But for now, it's the greatest gift and miracle I've ever experienced in my life. And the man said, "It absolutely had to have come from God. It did not come from me. It came through a breaking and an opening in my limitations and realization of the God and the Spirit in me." And that to me gives me the greatest hope, because here we are in a global pandemic, putting limits on ourselves. And yes, we must be safe and practical, but let's also begin to explore that creative force, begin to understand what we have in us, latent and innate in us, that gives us the ability to go beyond what we ever believed. So I'd like you to consider taking on a project this week. I want to hear what you're taking on. If you want to join our art classes, this week, this Fridays are full. We're just having limited sized classes where we go into deep meditation and then we create from what we experience in that flow. And it is so joyous. But give us a call. Go to our website, ocalaunity.org, and give us a call, sign up for the class, personal message me, but do something creative. Do that piece of art that you've always wanted to do. Go online and learn a new skill, whether it's painting, drawing, etching, whether it's beading, jewelry, any of the arts, anything that takes you away. Even if it's getting on the river in your kayak, getting away, allowing that space of miracles and creative spirit to open in you and to free you. I believe that God flows through each and every one of us. And in that power, we create our reality. Right now, scientists are creating new ways to fight viruses and to keep us safe. Look how far we've come as a species. Look what we're doing. Look at our children. Let's have hope. Let's believe that we're more than this, that we're better than this. Oh, it's so inspiring. I am so excited to be alive at this time, to see what's growing in the human spirit, to see us globally coming together and uniting in love, in kindred spirit, and in an exploration of what we are capable of. Look at what we are capable of. Let's start focusing on the miracles and the light and the, oh my goodness, this can be done. We can do this. Go listen to this man's music who never played a piano in his life. Let's not wait till we all get knocked in the head to come conscious. Let's do it now. Let's share a poem from Unity's Book of Poems. Oh, this is a good one from James Dillett Freeman. My heart makes its own weather. My heart makes its own weather. So let the world grow gray. My heart starts saying April. When April's far away, in spite of rain and reason and winter on the wing, my heart has its own season. And my heart says, it's spring. Blow wind and bitter cold, bitter weather. Come care, whistling cold. An April heart will never grow gray or crabbed or old. Time is a wrinkled treason. Age is an old untruth. Heart, keep your changeless season. Green April, golden youth. Let's be young together and get with those children and watch them teach us how to play. I love you. God loves you. I'll see you on Sunday as we begin a month of World Day of Prayer. You'll be getting a packet in the mail. If we don't have your address, call a church, personal email me or the church so that we can send you your prayer package for the month of September, because we've got this. Mwah. See you Sunday.